The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Yo, let's get into this bitch real quick because we don't have that much time apparently. Go Deep, episode 209, because your mother is fine and she's all mine. Actually, she's not all mine. Your mother is for the streets, but it's all good. Go Deep, episode 209, we back in this bitch. It is a continuation of the last episode. Meet the Fuckers. This one is another part of Meet the Fuckers, but it's more a more detailed part of Meet the Fuckers. I hope y'all like that intro. That was a JFK speech where he, vividly details who the fuckers are and what the fuckers are doing and how we can beat the fuckers. As you know, he did say the media is the front line of the fuckers. The media can destroy the fuckers because they operate in silence. They operate behind the scenes. They operate in the shadows. So, we as the media, we have to shine a light on these fuckers so they don't have their ways to operate more in the shadows. But before we do that, we need to listen to some music to get you in the zone and release all the bitch assness off of you so you can come back and listen to me talk and not be gay. Yeah, bitch. Be right back.
Yeah, welcome to the epitome of rap. Your services are no longer needed.
Let's keep it lyrical.
It's a new era in hip-hop.
Thugger,
y'all know the rest. It's a new era in rap, it's about to change. They know they ain't nice, that's why they claim they bang. You ever heard of Mr. C used to be with Kane? Biggie Smalls, old school at noon, do his thing. He named the top 5 lyricists in the game. He mentioned Pat Poose, but I ain't hear your name. So I'ma quote Jay-Z, you's a lame, it's a shame. Shame, shame, shame. It's a new era in rap, shit about to change. They know they ain't nice, that's why they claim they bang. You ever heard of Mr. C used to roll with Kane? Biggie Smalls, old school at noon, do his thing. He named the top 5 MCs in the game. He mentioned Pat Poose, but I ain't hear your name. So I'ma quote Jay-Z, you's a lame, it's a shame. Shame, shame, shame. I'm a Mackie by name, a strong by blood. Never used to have a buzz. It was what it was. Now I'm business like a bee. It is what it is. Gotta make $1 billion. I got a lot of kids. I'ma make it to the top non-stop. I ain't stopping. 50 said the top feel better than the bottom. Lame ass niggas tried to pop them. Fuck your 40 cal, got a 50 cal. Now what's poppin'? AK, chill K Slade, I got him. He let him gas him up, start him up. I'ma drive him, walk up on him like I don't want no problems. Then cock back and hit him. I was playing possum. A gym star, 25 cents, I cop him. So it only cost me a quarter to ox him. Rapper walking through my hood bopping. Had to ask a question, so I had to stop him. How many real niggas from the hood who grew up around poverty didn't sell crack or didn't do a robbery? Niggas ain't live as me, acting like they the only ones who put in work. That shit bothers me. Your chances of finding that there, you probably got a better chance of hitting the lottery. I done sold hella crack, move hella packs, I done grip hella gats, laid hella niggas flat, robbed hella out of towners when they wasn't town. I done ran in hella spots, laid hella niggas down, had hella chains out when niggas lamed out, back hella things out, had hella bang outs. I done copped hella jewels, got hella gully, I done pushed hella whips, spent hella money. Naked eyes never lie, you eyeballing me wild, you looking at me like you won't make a mistake and try. I respect your honesty, cause I hate a lie, but I will forever put clothing on your naked eye. You got your money up, but man, I'm not impressed. Money without respect, you in debt. You fucked a lot of people around, soon you gon' get stretched. You even fuck your own family, who get it next? That's a part of the game I don't get yet. How you gon' fuck your own family? Man, that's incest. And listen, you ain't got no knife game, we rip flesh, get you cut up like push-ups, 10 sets. Got the middle finger, but I give him the index, leave him with his wig wet. Nowadays I'm feeling like Floyd Mayweather. He poking out his chest, acting like he brolic. I don't care what he bench press. He going down when he get his chin checked. He got a glass jaw, he probably wash his face with Windex. It's a new era in rap, it's about to change. They know they ain't nice, that's why they claim they bang. You ever heard of Mr. C used to be with Kane? Biggie Smalls old school at noon do his thing. He named the top 5 lyricists in the game. He mentioned Papoose, but I ain't hear your name. So I'ma quote Jay-Z, use a lame, it's a shame. Shame, shame, shame. It's a new era in rap, shit about to change. They know they ain't nice, that's why they claim they bang. You ever heard of Mr. C used to roll with Kane? Biggie Smalls old school at noon do his thing. He named the top 5 MCs in the game. He mentioned Papoose, but I ain't hear your name. So I'ma quote Jay-Z, use a lame, it's a shame. Shame, shame, shame.
All right, we are back. So, my podcast last time was called Meet the Fuckers, because there is a group of people in every sector of this planet, especially American culture, that they kind of run behind the scenes and they do their work behind the scenes, but they can be in any sector. They can be in the entertainment industry, they can be in the music industry, they can be in film, blah, 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 all of that. Everything we pretty much talking about there is fuckers behind the scenes. And when we talk, we're like, when I talk about secret society, I'm not just talking about like the Masons and Illuminati, the ones that everybody know. There is a lot of secret societies, but you know, most people just automatically think of the Masons and shit like that. But when you really start focusing on it, that has to come into play too. And not saying, and still to this day, I don't know everything about the Masons, and I know a few cool Masons, you know, but I do know that some of the symbolism, you know, where it comes from, where it originates and all that shit, and you can kind of see in the previous podcast, a lot of that shit originates in Egypt. And there is, who knows what Egypt is, if it's some fucking alien landings of a previous civilization or anything like that, and these aliens have learned how to blend in with human beings and use their magic to control the culture. Who knows what it is, if they do that or not. But we do see that the ending result is there's never good for the people. We are going through I guess we all came together around 2016 for Zack Snyder when cancel culture tried to cancel him. And it's, you know, sorry about that. A lot of times when we look at it, we never delved into it. And this whole time, and the movie's coming out soon, the Snyder Cut is coming out soon, and this whole time a lot of the guys, nobody really has ever delved into it except maybe 2 people I know, and that's me and Brian Kuhn. But delving into this shit, it's probably gonna answer a lot of answers of why shit operates this way and why shit goes this way and how we can prevent this and that and the other. So in 2016, it seemed like all the blue checks, all the major media outlets, everyone gathered up to cancel Zack Snyder. So then when you look at it, like, damn, are these guys all reading off a narrative? You know, are these guys all reading off of the same script? But then when you, it sounds weird to you, but if you don't, you know, equate, I mean, if you don't add up secret societies in this equation, it does not make sense. Now, you can have a secret society member that works for the Washington Post. You can have one that works for Rotten Tomatoes. You can have one that works for Collider. You can have one that works for Warner Brothers. You can have one that works for the Chinese Communist Party. You can have one that works for the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. You can have them that work in every sector. Everything you can think of, they can be in there, and you, to the visible eye, you think these are, opposing camps. But behind the scenes, they're all together. That's why their narratives all are the same, because the secret society trumps all. And I'm not saying Trump as in Donald Trump. And we might get into that too. But the secret society trumps all of this because they have a narrative. And the reason I say secret society is because this shit is a secret. And you only can be in if you have to be initiated into it. And their narratives is to basically, I don't know whether it's like to take down the West or take down America or, I don't know. But I do know their narratives are all the same, and they do brainwash a lot of people. And they use it because people are fickle. So if you see Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, MSNBC, all of these same people saying all the same things, you're like, damn, if everybody's saying it, it must be true. But it's really not everybody. It's just one secret society that owns multiple news outlets. So one narrative is being spoken over multiple news outlets. So that's what they did to cancel Zack Snyder. But then when you look at it and you wonder, why would they choose Zack Snyder to do it? And then, I came into this movement because I started seeing Zack Snyder, how he would say different things in his movies. And, if you're aware or initiated, I'm not initiated, but I guess I'm aware. If you're aware of it, you can see it. You can easily see it. And it's a language that only the aware or the initiated will be speaking. But then you wonder, why, why would they do this? So we run up to, just to give you a little bit about me, I have been trained to be initiated, but I never took that. I'm like Batman and Batman Begins. He went to China and met Ra's al Ghul, and he got probably 90% into the initiation, and then he was like, nah, I'm not with it. He broke out, came back to America to save the American people. That's kind of like me. I was trained to be in that secret society, or a secret society. I was trained by multiple secret society people. But the training, I say, is just indoctrination, because once they teach you all this shit, you just go out and you spread that teaching to other people. You're not knowing you're fucking indoctrinating everyone, but that's just how it goes. So then that indoctrination turns into where people are starting to think stupid shit. And if you think stupid shit, you do stupid shit. And that's what they brought to America. And you can have a Chinese person, a English person, a fucking American person, Australian person, and you might think they're all different people. But like I said, if you don't calculate that secret society, they can all be in that secret society. They might look like warring countries, but they're all together, and you just don't know. So when what we call the New World Order came to America, I could kind of see it in Zack Snyder's movies, especially The Watchmen. The New World Order, like I said, it has a lot of its roots in Egypt. It has probably most of its roots a lot of its roots in Egypt. And you saw in the Watchmen movie how Ozymandias was all about his ancient pharaonic bloodline. That's what he held the closest, And what did he do? He came and he worked in America to bring a different form of energy. What we thought in America, he was helping us. And even the people making the energy, they thought he was helping us. But it turns out he flipped on everyone. But he did it to a way to say like he's, we all saw The Watchmen. He was going to stop all the wars. And that's what's going on today. They think, some people think the wars for fossil fuels and oil as, run amok, cause the world to go down. But then if you look at it, all those guys that want to be like, hey, we're the Green New Deal and we want this new, these new lithium batteries and all this shit instead of oil. Those guys are just starting more wars just to dig lithium, but it's just different. It's done different. They trick you. It's all in the mind. Everything is in the mind because they have to get us to do it. So they trick you and make you think it's gonna be good, just like Ozymandias did. And then, the scientist in Antarctica was killed, and that's another thing because it's like the Nazis supposed to have went to the Arctic and head out and blah blah blah. And it's so much shit in this Zack Snyder story, Zack Snyder's life, that is like, damn, he knows something and he's trying to get it out to us, but we don't really understand it because we are not calculating the secret societies. We think this is just like a joke or a game or a movie or fiction or anything like that. But when we learn the secret societies, it becomes a little bit more clearer to everyone, not just the initiated. So I even see it was definitely the secret societies that wanted to cancel Zack Snyder in 2016, 17 or whatever. Well, they've been trying to cancel him. But you can kind of see he was always like the guy that in 300, the secret societies is represented by Xerxes. He offered everything to him, like women, power, blah, 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 gold, but they never sold out, his job was to show that a god king can bleed, and that's what they did. Even if they died in the end, they eventually won when the people woke up to what Leonidas already knew. So that's what my point is for this podcast, because I've seen and I've been trained and I've been indoctrinated and learned a lot of shit throughout my life where it is obvious that the secret societies are canceling America. It's obvious that the secret societies just canceled a election and gave us what they want to give us, not what we wanted, because the votes for the people are clearly for Trump. But Trump is a part of the secret societies too. He could just be in it as a psyop operation just to get us tied back into politics after years of us figuring out that politics wasn't shit. It all could be one big psyop because that's how they work. But now we see that the same psyop that was working against Zack Snyder has worked against Trump, which in turn worked against America. So I have sat back and I've watched the people in our movement who agrees with this type of canceling, because we see it blatantly with that election. And if you still agree to it, I kind of already know who you are. A lot of stuff gives away who people are without them actually saying it, but it gives away. We've had people in our movement that's been trying to stop us since day one. And they look like us, act like us, but they're probably not, they're not us. We have people that still to this day try to troll every fucking day. Try to get on people's nerves, try to make everyone uncomfortable. But when you look behind the scenes, all of these guys are in the secret society, in the same secret society. I'm breaking away from people right now, and I'm breaking away because I think I have to be by myself, because I can only do this with like-minded people. But not many people are like-minded like this, because not many people understand. And the people that do understand are on the other side. So they do understand what I'm saying, but they can't promote me, or they can't agree with me because they are on that side that's trying to cancel us. So me as the Black Bruce Wayne, as Bruce Swain, I just have to do it. And that's what this podcast is about. I've seen it in every sector I've ever tried to be in. Whether it's the rap game, is when I started seeing it the most. They came around me when I started rapping, and they tried to teach me this and teach me that. So my message as a rapper will get out to all of my fans and be clouded and indoctrinate my fans in some bullshit. I saw that and got out of the rap game. I thought I was going to get into podcasting. I set up a crew with my family. We fucking got some people that was also in the secret society around us, and they tried to control what we say, what we do, how we say, what we speak, everything like that. And I think I was the only one that saw it. Maybe others saw it, but it is what it is. So now I'm by myself. I always do this. This is my fucking go-to move. When I see fuck shit, I go by myself because I know the plan. I know the game. I know where I'm gonna stand, and I trust myself to stand on the right side. I trust myself to put out the right shit. I'm not gonna be indoctrinated ever by the secret society, ever, and I'm not gonna ever join the secret society to make sure that what Peely says that goes out into the masses is gonna be fucked up and, slanted and bullshit. I won't do that. So I look at it now where Zack Snyder done went through all this shit. Zack Snyder's still going through this shit. People all around the movement, some people don't know, a lot of people do know. But where I lose interest in talking to people is when people do know what's going on and they choose not to say it. When you choose not to say it, you might as well be complicit in the crimes going against America. You might as well be complicit in the crimes going against Zach. You might as well be complicit in the crimes going against the American people. Because if you don't stand up and use your voice and put out what's really going on, you're just wasting time and allowing that shit to happen. And then I have to see that you're not on my team. I'm not on your team. I'm not that type of person. So I detach myself from fraudulence. And that's where I'm at. So I'm at a point right now where I'm just going to put out my message because I know what the message that needs to be heard, and I know what the message, I know what has to be out. I'm not going to waste any time bullshitting with nobody. I'm not going to waste any time trying to be friendly with nobody. I'm not going to waste any time trying to do shit. I'm not going to waste time at all because this is a war we're going on. And this war we are going on in is against the secret societies. I hate to say it like that. I know people in the secret societies. People are cool, but I don't know if they even see what's going on. And I think they do see, but I think a lot of times they like to blow smoke in our face and put a smoke screen up so we don't see, so we can continue to waste time as their plan unfolds. That's not me. That's never gonna be me. I have turned away a lot of money, a lot of fame. I have turned away a lot of hoes, bitches, clothes, shit, everything that the secret society could give you in order for you to keep quiet, in order for you to rap about stupid shit like dumb shit that doesn't help the people at all. They give you drugs, money, hoes, clothes, and gold to make sure you don't tell the people what's really going on. Actors, they give you a lot of money and they kill you when you do talk. So directors, they do the same thing. So the people that sit in here silent while this shit goes on are complacent in all of these crimes, and I won't be one of them. In fact, I'm going to be on the exact opposite side of you. That's what I'm going to be doing. That's what Go Deep is about. Not selling out. It will never be a sellout. I'll never, ever, 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 ever take any amount of money to fool the people because I know what the people are up against. The people are up against fucking tyranny, which we're seeing right now, totalitarianism, which we're seeing right now. This New World Order shit is here right now, and it's been here since probably JFK, since he died. I was in 9/11 in New York City during 9/11, one day after my birthday, where I predicted 9/11 was going to happen on my birthday because I had a dream about it the day before. This is how serious this shit is. This is me. I'm not a sellout. I'm never going to be a sellout. I'm never going to sit around and talk about unimportant shit when there's so much important shit going on. I'm never going to sit around and do dumb shit, fake shit, slimeball shit, none of that shit when there's so much other shit that we could be doing and saying. So this is what I'm talking about. This is a continuation from my last podcast because the last Meet the Fuckers podcast, apparently everybody liked it. But if we don't know that, it's some shit we need to know, because we might look at it like, oh, it's the CCP, or it's America doing this, or it's Israel doing that, or this, that, or the other. No, it's the secret societies doing this. They're in every government. They're in every group. They're in every media outlet. They're in every news station. They're in everything. So you have to take an oath of secrecy, because before you blow up and get into any of these sectors, you have to make sure you'll never rat on them boys. I never took that oath. I'm like Batman. I saw what we had to do, and I jumped out of that bitch and went home. I didn't burn down anybody's houses, but I'm not going to be hanging around on no fraudulent shit when I know what so much important shit we have to do. We have to be great. Because if they can cancel Zack Snyder, if they can cancel Donald Trump, if they can cancel the American fucking country as a whole, they can cancel your dumb fucking ass as a civilian. But if you know who they are and what they're talking about, is way less likely that they will be able to cancel you. And if nobody's telling you who they are, what they are, where they came from, let me be the first. Because I'm going to do it. That's my point. This is what I've always been about. I'm not about no fraudulent shit. I've never been about no fraudulent shit. I've turned down riches, hoes, bitches, clothes, and gold, I'm telling you. And I will turn down these fraudulent ass, fake ass crews if we're not going to sit here and be great. Because that's what is required on this planet right now, because we're up against something great. And I'm not going to fall in line and let that thing that we're up against just roll over me. I hope you don't either. So let me teach you something. Let me show you something. This is what my podcast is about. This is part 2 to episode 208. This is episode 209. Because your mother is fine. She's for the streets. She's not mine. Let's get into it though. I'm gonna put in a white person talking. He was on my last video. You might understand his voice. This is Sean Ross. This is my buddy. I was gonna interview him one time before I started Go Deep, and then he got in trouble, went to prison. I haven't ever got that interview, but I still watch his channels, and I'm gonna show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. So you can learn, and you can maybe, sidestep some of this rabbit hole shit. Yeah, bitch.
Welcome to another News. I'm Jeff Brady. On this show, we've talked in depth about the idea that most of us are subjugated into a modern slave system, but usually with a vague reference to the power structure, using terms such as bankers or elites. Our guest, Dr. Sean Ross, brings a tighter focus on those terms through his research exposing the world's most dangerous mafia, the aristocracy. He says, "We are slaves and they rule the world. Their base is Switzerland." According to Sean's research, the last stronghold of the Templars fell on May 18th, 1291. 2 months later, Switzerland was founded. The Templar treasure was hidden in Switzerland, through which the Swiss banks were founded, and all subsequent and future wars are financed. Sean Ross also points out that the families currently in places of control within the Swiss banking system's upper tiers have bloodline connections to ancient Egyptian pharaohs, hence Sean's use of the term aristocracy. Our guest, Dr. Sean Ross, has been producing hundreds of videos exposing the symbolism, art, monuments, and memorials throughout major cities in Europe, but you'll also get rare glimpses into the backyards of mansions. Some of his visual work reveals hidden courtyards festooned with bloodline crests and occultist artwork. As you may have guessed, producing and uploading this level of high-quality video exposing the secret Swiss aristocracy and the real connections with the global banking system has come at a high price. Dr. Sean Ross has been a political prisoner in Switzerland. He was tortured while in prison and has been homeless for 2 years. He does need help currently, as you will hear in this interview. His email is swisstorture@gmail.com. Sean, welcome to Another News.
Thank you.
Let's start from the beginning. How did you get interested in researching secret societies and their symbols hidden in plain sight?
Well, something in me, since I've been 5 years old, I always wanted to stop the injustice in the world and and all these wars going on. I saw at a very early age, I saw about the concentration camps and all that. Since a very early age, I just, I want to do something. I'm not just a talker, but I do things. And secondly, I'm from a very rich family, and I saw, what's going on behind the screens, friends of my parents, and then thirdly, it's a bit the essence of a martyr. I had very rough times in my life, and this is really a wake-up call for some people, if things don't go right in your lives, it's the essence of being a martyr.
At some point, you were able to determine that there's something going on within secret groups that are controlling the world. How old were you when that realization happened?
Already at a very early age, it started from the age at 5 years old,
I see. So, Sean, for full disclosure for listeners at this point, it was very difficult to arrange this interview for a number of bizarre reasons, but primarily it's that you're homeless and you're actually in a McDonald's in Strasbourg, France. That's how we're doing this interview. The manager was kind enough to let you use the phone, but we've been communicating through Skype and with the 6-hour difference, and we managed to just line things up right now. It's almost 6 o'clock in the evening over there. You've been homeless for 2 years, but you're also making incredible videos and posting them. Just give listeners some context there of how you became homeless.
Yeah. First of all, my YouTube channels are Giureh, that's Giureh, and Chatzefratz, that's Chatzefratz. Well, you won't remember that. So the easiest thing is to go into a film which is called, one of my videos, I've got 700, which is called Auschwitz, Made in Switzerland. That's easy to remember. And then you get to my one channel, and if you look there in my channel, you see the videos I like, and then you get to my other channel. And, because I reveal too many things, I'm a historian. So the elite who are in Switzerland, which is their base, where all the money is, all the NGOs are in Switzerland, they didn't like it very much, what I was doing. So they sent me an anti-terrorist squad. They arrested me many times. I was a political prisoner because of my videos for 5.5 years. They tortured me in prison by oxygen deprivation. My hair turned all gray. I got a very bad health. So now I'm in the street since 2 years with a very bad health. I'm sleeping in forests. I can't see my wife and children. I've got 3 children, and they come about once a month to the French border. And as we don't have any money, we put up the tent with my children, 2 boys, 17 and 15, and the girl, she's only 5 years old. So like refugees because of the terror of the Swiss state, and really the base of it all is Switzerland. So the New World Order. If there is a New World Order, there must also be an Old World Order. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a New World Order. And there are very few people, mostly they are initiated, who know what the New World Order is. It's the aristocracy who are still ruling the world, and they have the New World Order. And we have to go back at least 1,000 years in history, back in history, to find out where they come from, what their faces are, what their names are, where they come from. I can tell you where they originally come from. And like Mr. Hitler, he said, the Jews, they did it all. They financed the First World War, as many people believe. But it is not true. I'm not a Jew myself, not at all. Hitler was a liar, you know. Actually, the First World War was organized and financed by the aristocracy. It was the Emperor of Germany, William II, who put on a uniform and a helmet with a little obelisk on it, a Pickelhelm, as they say it in German, and he said, now there's a war, and if you refuse, that's what he thought, stupid European, we're going to shoot you in front of a firing squad. There was the Emperor of Austria, Franz Joseph. He put on a uniform and a helmet, now there's a war. There was the King of Italy, uniform, helmet, now there's a war. The King of England, uniform, helmet. There was the Tsars of Russia, uniform, helmets, now there's a war. It was the entire aristocracy who always ruled, who pushed us into the war and financed it and organized it. There was no Jew in it. So this is the first thing. So the New World Order, and that was 100 years ago, you know, the beginning of the First World War. You have to know that in the aristocracy there is a law. This is very important to understand the New World Order. And this law is called the primogenitura. That means only the firstborn son, in French they call it le droit divin, the holy rule. So only the firstborn son, he gets everything. He gets the castle, he gets the land, the power, the jus prime noctis. That means on the first night of your marriage in the Middle Ages, you had to leave your wife in the castle, and they would bang her, the entire aristocracy. This is what happened. The aristocracy have always been torturing us, putting us in the dungeons, terrorizing us, torturing us, raping our women. They've always been doing it. But there were also second, third, and fourth sons, and many, many more, as much as 10 or 15 in many occasions, with other women other than the queen. So they were not happy at all. And this is why there were many conspiracies in the castles, a lot of backstabbings, poisonings with aconitum, which is a little flower which grows in the European mountains. And it's more poisonous than a rattlesnake. Apparently, nowadays they say that Cleopatra, she poisoned herself with the aconite. It's like night, the word night in it, like night, goodbye, finished. Aconite. Okay. And the firstborn son, the duke, the count, the marquis, or the king, he didn't want the second, third, and fourth sons anymore in his castle, in the court. It was too dangerous. So he kicked them all out. They were not happy at all. And in the Middle Ages, there were only three things. There was the aristocracy, the people, and the church. And of course, these guys, an aristocrat, they didn't want to seek refuge within the people, because there you have to work, and you're up to your neck into the cow shit, or even the pig shit, and not enough to eat. And an aristocrat basically doesn't work then and still today, and there are millions of them. So they went into a monastery, and at a certain time in the monastery, there were so many of them. They said, we are in a monastery, which is a temple of God, so we are the Templars. And we're going to make a new system that every one of us in the aristocracy can be the king for a period of 4, 5, or 7 years, depending the country in which you are. And we're going to vote. But none of us can vote, they said, because we all know what's going on. And one of them said, I've got a good idea. We let the people vote, because they're so stupid. They're never going to understand what's happening. And at the same time, we make them think that the people are ruling. So this is what became the democracy. But for us, the people, there is no democracy. It's only for our still aristocratic lords that they can be elected democratically. And that's it, final. And the Templars, where did they go to? The French king, Philip the Fair, Philippe le Bel on a Friday the 13th. This is why we say Friday the 13th as a bad day. He arrested all the Templars in France, but he got hold of only 325. And that was on Friday the 13th of October, 1307. 7 years later, many of them got burned in 1314. So 1307. But as these guys were not stupid, only 16 years before, and these are very important dates to understand the whole picture of it all. So 16 years before the arrest, there was the first big police action in the entire European or human history, all over France and even abroad. There was a letter being sent out a month before, which could only be opened on that very date of Friday, the 13th of October, 1307, which they did. It didn't leak out, and they got, 325 got arrested. Amongst them, Jacques de Molay, he was the last grand maître of the Templars, and he got burned in Paris. So, 16 years before that, because they saw it all coming, they founded Switzerland on August the 1st, 1291. And 1291 is a very important year, because this is the end of the Crusades. The last stronghold of the Templars in the Middle East was Kers, in French, Saint-Jean d'Acre, next to a Templars castle, Crac de Chevalier. And Saint-Jean d'Acre, or Kers, fell on May 18th, 1291. Only 2.5 months later, just the time to get back to Europe, they founded Switzerland on August the 1st, which is a national holiday. It's their July 4th, in 1291, which is their founding date. If you find like 1291 in the internet, you know there are Swiss neo-Nazis behind it, because that's their code. If you add it up, you get the number 13, like people who are into numerology or these sort of things.
Right.
And if you look at the Swiss flag, they got the same colors, red and white, as the Templars, only the Templars had a red cross. As it's also in Switzerland, in Geneva, they got the Red Cross, to help people, what they say. The Swiss cross is a white cross on a red underground. Actually, the same as the Ku Klux Klan, which comes from the Swiss Templars, actually. They got a logo of a Swiss cross in it. So this is a simplified Templars cross. And Switzerland is the only flag in the world which is a square. It's not long, but all sides are equal length, together with the Vatican. And the Vatican, it belongs to Switzerland. And then the Templars afterwards, not very long afterwards, they were the first banks in the world. So of course, the notorious Templars treasure came into Switzerland, with which they founded the Swiss banks. And this is where all the elite is, tax evasion, you name it. The elite in the US, they bring their money into Switzerland. They don't pay any more taxes. As an aristocrat, never paid any taxes. So the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, because it's all going to be on the back of the poor to pay all the taxes, which is not going to be paid anymore by the rich people. And this is Switzerland. All the NGOs in the world, they're all in Switzerland. Even the World Trade Organization, their base, their headquarters are in Switzerland, in Geneva. I saw the place. The United Nations are in Switzerland. The Red Cross, the FIFA, UEFA for the soccer, the Olympic Games in Lausanne, the OMS for the doctors, everything is in Switzerland. All the money is there. And this is why the Nazis, who were actually the Nazi Templars, being the reason that they were so interested in occultism. They were digging in the south of France, in Rennes-le-Château, the famous Rennes-le-Château, in Bugarache, where they were waiting in 2012, the end of the world. There were 10,000s of people there waiting the end of the world. These are very special places where the SS, they had a special detachment, which was the SS Annenerbe, with at the head the SS Otto Rahn. And Otto Rahn, he had the same hat as Indiana Jones. And this is where Steven Spielberg, he got the information from and the inspiration to do his Indiana Jones videos. And this is why they always show Nazis who are digging for the Holy Grail and and the Ark of the Covenant and all these sort of things, which they were really doing. You know, the Germans, they lost the war, but the Nazis and the Swiss, they won it. The gold reserve of Poland and Czechoslovakia, France, it all went to Switzerland, and they never saw it again. Even until today, it has never seen again. There is a big armaments company, the Swiss military industrial complex, which is called Oerlikon. Even American ships, even today, they still got Oerlikon cannons. That's Burle Oerlikon. And this military industrial complex, this company, has prolonged the Second World War with at least 2 years, producing cannons and flak anti-aircraft cannons and bullets and everything, you know, for the Germans. Mm-hmm. And the owner of this company, his name is Emil Burle, and today it's worldwide known. Today he still has a wide collection of stolen Nazi art collection of people who can't defend themselves anymore for the simple reason that they are not there anymore. And this is also the reason they murdered all the Jews. The Germans don't really have a problem with the Jews. There never were any pogroms in Germany. It's because of the Templars. And these Templars are aristocrats. And guess where they come from, the aristocracy? They come from ancient pharaonic Egypt. That's where they come from. 7 years ago, they found out with the genetic analysis that more than 50% of the Europeans, they have the pharaonic DNA. And people are asking themselves, well, how is this possible? Here is Europe. Here, I'm sitting in France. Here's France. Egypt is over there on the other side of the dip. How is this possible? Well, it's very easy. It's because of the jus prime noctis. On the first night of your marriage, you had to leave. They raped your wife, even before you had her. So this is how the aristocracy, they injected their pharaonic genetics into the whole of our women, if you understand what I mean. So the aristocracy, they are pure pharaohs. And that's why they take decisions in Washington that are not really favorable of the American people. Because you're being ruled by a foreign power. The same here in Europe. And I can also tell you why they call it the Oval Office.
I just want to go back for a minute there before you go into the Oval Office. I think this is one of the most important pieces of your research because very few people are talking about this specifically what you call the aristocracy, the pharaoh lineage within some of the Swiss aristocracy. You said there was 7 years ago there was some genealogy test that showed there was ancient Egyptian connections. Can you talk about that specifically?
Yeah, well, it was about 7 years ago, and they talked a little bit about it in the media, but it got hushed down pretty quickly afterwards. Well, you understand why. And the pharaohs are here, and this is why, you know, their descendants, the Freemasons, who are everywhere in key positions, they always show pyramids, obelisks, the all-seeing eye, Isis, Horus, the symbols of their ancestors. That they are pharaohs. The Freemasons are pharaohs. Maybe except if you have a 5th degree or 10th degree, and if you're just useful, stabbing the people in the back and being part of that organization. But most certainly at the top of this organization, they are purely pharaohs. And this is the way their rule is. Every politician is a Freemason. There's no exception. Only some of them say it and some of them don't. And in the Freemasons, they have a lot of secret symbology. And one of them is the Vesica Piscis, which are basically, there's a lot of people coming in here. They don't know I'm doing the interview.
That's okay. Let's keep going as long as we can, Sean.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Je fais juste un interview avec New York. Alors, Thomas, Merci, madame. The Vesica Piscis is it's like the rings, you know, touching each other. And like Audi cars, you know, they're 4 rings, or MasterCard or Gucci. And this means we are an organization. We are a chain of rings. And you, stupid European or stupid American, you're standing alone. And we are very organized. You Europeans, you always You're always alone. And this is what it means. And in between the rings, there is an oval. You know, if you picture two rings, like Audi, there's an oval being formed. So this is why you have the Oval Office. There's no other reason. And the pharaohs, this is very important. The pharaohs had two empires. In the south, they had the Upper Egypt, and in the north, there was Lower Egypt, where Cairo is, and the Mediterranean. Because the Nile, it's upper and lower, because the Nile is floating from where it's higher to lower. Yeah, it's always going into the Mediterranean finally around there. So the name of Upper Egypt in Demotic, I studied the Demotic language. There's the word demos in it, like in democracy, which does not exist. There's only democracy for our aristocratic lords, that they can be elected democratically. For us, there's no democracy. They do what they want. So back to that pharaonic empire, in Demotic, the word demos is in it, meaning the people in Greek. And they had a written language, because the hieroglyphs are only for the temple, so the gods and the demons, they can see the pictures and the evil images of gods and demons and all that. So the name of the Upper Egypt is the Per-Het in Demotic. And Per, it means the house, and Het, it means white. This is why you have the White House in America. And they're all pharaohs, and that's why it has an enormous obelisk. The Washington Monument of 110 meters high. And the obelisk is the symbol of the pharaonic domination. The pharaonic domination, yeah. And in the north, they had the Per-Tasser, meaning the Red House. And they were having a war with each other. And the Red House, they were having a small red crown. As the White House, they were having a long white crown. There's a lot of people walking around here. So they were having wars with each other, and they said, "Now we're going to stop doing all these wars, because we're going to conquer the world." So they founded the United Kingdom of Pharaoh with the white and the red crown all together, and it is the white and red house of Pharaoh. So when they came to the center of Europe, they said, "This is going to be our neutral place in the center of Europe." Because we're never going to make any wars there. It's always going to be neutral, because we're going to hide it all there, and all the NGOs are there. It's going to be our base. And this is why there's a German-speaking part of Switzerland, you know, to interact to the north and terrorize the peoples in the north. There is a French-speaking part for the west, you know, to infiltrate the west. Italian-speaking part to the east, to the south, and there's a Rheto-Romanic part to the east, so they can go into all directions. But the pharaohs, they also had a third crown, which was the blue crown, the war crown. That's why we have the United Nations blue helmets. So all the peoples who do wars for these pharaohs, they got these three colors in their flags: red, white, and blue. All imperialist, colonizing countries. Like America, red, white, and blue. England, France, the Netherlands, Russia, it's all red, white, and blue. And red doesn't mean our spoiled blood or something, and white, the transpiration, and blue, our tears. No, it's all pharaonic.
Sean, thank you for going into that research. And again, this is just at the top of your head, and this is what you've been looking into and researching for many years, and also living the part and producing the hundreds of videos that you post online. Sean, can you give out your YouTube handle again and let listeners know where they can find some of your videos?
Yeah, so my channels are Giureh, Giureh, and I've got videos on it like Auschwitz Made in Switzerland, or Pharistocracy, not aristocracy, but Pharistocracy, because the aristocracy, they're purely pharaonic. They got blue blood, they don't talk to us, they only marry with each other, they always had all the power, and before 100 years ago it was the old world order of the firstborn son, the king, and since 100 years, also before, since 1776 in your country and 1789 in France, we are in the New World Order. And really, since 100 years, we are 100% in it.
Regarding the pharaohs and the lineage and the bloodline that you're pointing out, is there any specific dynasty within the ancient Egyptian history that is specific to this lineage?
There's only one dynasty, and it's called the Per-A. The word pharaoh, it comes from Per-A. Upper Egypt is the Per-Het, and Per, it means the house. And Per-A, A, it means big or pregnant. So it means the big house, Per-A. The word pharaoh, etymologically, it comes from Per-A. And this is the only lineage there is. For instance, Paris, it's come from Per-Isis, or Per-Isis. It means the house of Isis. And you find it everywhere. I explain in my film, The Pharaoh Show, where the word America, A-Me-Ri-Ka, that it is entirely pharaonic. Like it means big or pregnant. Me is the word for pyramid. Ri is the word for the sun. And Ka is the soul, the word for the soul when alive. Ba is the soul when dead. So America, when you read it from backwards to forwards, it means the translation is the reincarnation of the big pyramid will take place where our souls will live. I mean, look at the dollar. Oh, they're slamming the doors here. It's hard to concentrate, but I'll do my best.
You're doing great, Sean.
Thanks, Jeff. It's important to wake people up, and that's why I'm doing it. It's very hard for me to collect my energy, to collect my mind. I'm basically living in this. All the time. I'm sleeping in forest. I'm very tired. It's very difficult. I want to continue my work, and I can't continue my work because I don't have a place with a computer. So if there's anybody out there who knows somebody in Europe or has a house in Europe where I can continue to work, and best is in France because people really leave you alone in France, but they're not very helpful. I need help, and the work I do it for you all.
Yes, it's important that the work that you do continues, and hopefully people can reach out to you. But let listeners know how you can be contacted.
On my channel, if you punch About Us in my channel, there's my email, and there you can contact me. My email is swisstorture@gmail.com.
SwissTorture@gmail.com. That's SWISS, torture, the word torture, and at gmail.com. Got it.
Exactly. And my name is Sean Ross. Ross with an H in front of it. My name, I don't do any anonymous. I put my name in my channel. That's why I had so many problems. Well, so they sent me many times an anti-terrorist squad, put me in prison, and
let's go back to that, if you don't mind, if we can get into that a little bit more, because if listeners need to understand that you're walking around with a camera and you're choosing specific areas in certain cities that have either war memorials, specific sculptures, and you're really breaking it down and showing the detail, the history, the symbology, the numerology, maybe the sacred geometry and the location on Earth grid where these monuments occur. A lot of people don't do that, but also you do connect into the Swiss and the aristocracy. Very few people have made that connection, and it's extremely important, I think, that people know, especially when a lot of researchers are looking into the banking system and what the banking system is really about. So I just want to give a little context there. And from there, you became a target. And was there a specific video that they went after you for?
Well, of course, they say, in Switzerland, they say, well, we are neutral and clean, we're so innocent, we never did anything, This is what the devil does best, to portray himself as being innocent, and that's what the Swiss always did. What they did, they lied some stuff together, because only based upon my videos, they couldn't really put me in prison. I went out and I got arrested by cops who beat me. And then they said that I aggressed them and these sort of things. They just lied a lot of things together. In my entire life, I tell you, I've never seen so many organized lies and so much evil as in Switzerland. I would never say this about any race or any people in the world. I've traveled a lot of people. You know, here in France there are a lot of owls. There are some good people here. They're not very helpful, but on the other side they leave you alone. So there are good things and bad things. The manager is French here. Let me stay here in his office. But the Swiss, I tell you, I've never seen this. These people are evil. They've got an alliance with evil. And this is why the Nazis, they never took Switzerland. I mean, for the Nazis to invade Poland instead of Switzerland is like living to the central bank and rob the snack bar next to it. And I can tell you how they financed the Nazis. This is very important for you Americans. You had the Wall Street crash in 1929. So you have to look at the itinerary, what happened before. I just closed the door again. I have to stand up all the time. It's like a church here. Nobody closes the door. McDonald's church.
Right.
So in 1929, in September 29th, there was Black Thursday and all that. What happened 1 month before, 1 or 2 months before? This is very important. You had a new president, the big man on the key position. His name was Herbert Hoover. His real name was Huber, Swiss, of Swiss descent, just like the other Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover. They also call him Gay Edgar Hoover, which he was. With his pal, they always walked around with in the same jacket and the same colors. That's what homos do. So, 2 months before, Herbert Hoover, he became the president. And so they had a man in the key position, and they wanted to do the Second World War, and then they could do it. So they robbed the savings of honest Americans during the Wall Street crash. But the money didn't disappear. It just ended up in somebody else's pocket. And it went to the Federal Reserve, which is the central bank of America. But to transfer the money into Europe to finance Hitler's war industry with it, it needed a central bank of all the central banks in the world. And this bank was founded in Switzerland. It was Hitler's bank. It was founded by Hjalmar Schacht. He was a 33-degree Freemason of aristocratic descent, of course. The Nazis never murdered the Freemasons. It's, maybe some lower degrees, but this guy was a 33-degree, and he went on doing it the whole war. So just a couple of months after the Wall Street crash, they founded the BIS, which is the Bank of International Settlements in Basel, in the motherland. So that's where your money went to. It never disappeared. And only this explains the incredible rise of the Nazi war industry, which can't be explained otherwise, because the poor Germans, they just suffered an economical crisis of more than 10 years. Children died. People starved. So they were emptying in their bellies. If you're emptying your belly, you're also emptying your head. So they could fill their heads up, this is one of their tricks. So they could fill their heads up with all the Nazi propaganda and anti-Semitic propaganda, racism and all that. And the Germans just believed it. But they were only the right hand of it. They were not the head. The head of the whole thing was Switzerland, and they won the war. And it's because of the Templars, who are basically pharaohs. So, the itinerary, you got a new president, Herbert Hoover. I did comparisons in one of my videos with Herbert Hoover and J. Edgar Hoover. They've got exactly the same head. They're from the same lineage, the same people, basically. And then 3 months after, they had the Bank of International Settlements, which is the central bank of all the central banks in the world. And this is how they could steal your money. That's where it went to Switzerland. Clean, honest, neutral Switzerland of the Templars.
Did you do research on the Dulles brothers and their Swiss background?
Alan Dulles, he was the first director of the CIA, yeah. I did a film about it, and he's from a Swiss, not a Swiss-German family. Usually they're Swiss-German, but from a Swiss aristocratic Geneva family. Very wealthy, very influential. And he spent all his, the wartime, Second World War, he spent in Bern, Switzerland, where I used to live as well, next to Bern, which is the capital of Switzerland. There's the word bear in it, Bern. And a very important thing to do is to know, at the same time, when Alan Dulles became, I think in 1948, the first director of the CIA, you had another a Swiss president at the same time, or just a couple of years after. There was Eisenhower of Swiss descent. So then again, they had all their men on all key positions in the United States. It's a bit noisy here. There's a shift of personnel, so it's a bit hard to concentrate, but I'll go on.
Okay, I just want to give listeners a bit of a background here. If somebody's just tuning in, we're speaking with Sean Ross. His YouTube channel, one of his channels is called Chatzefratz, Chatzefratz. Sean is a deep researcher in connecting the Pharaoh lineage into the Templars, and also into the Freemasons and the Swiss and the dominant society at this point. But also, we're interviewing him at a McDonald's. That's why you'll hear a lot of background noise, and we're trying to get through this interview. So we were talking about Alan Dulles.
There's a very important issue connected to it, which is the MK Ultra, the Monarch Ultra, the brainwashing thing. All the terrorist attacks and the American shootings in high schools, it's all happening through this project. MK, it means monarch. Est-ce que vous pouvez fermer la porte? C'est un interview. Bang. Okay, I'm quiet now. That was the shift. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was also 1948. They invented LSD, and they didn't know what to do with it. That's one of the ingredients of MK Ultra. Monarch, meaning a king. So it's the aristocracy. They even put their name into the MK Ultra. They are behind it, you know, and they understand these signs. We don't. So they didn't know LSD was also it was also invented in Basel, just as the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements. They didn't know what to do with it. You know, it's not necessarily good for a human being. You can't make a cream out of it for the skin. You know what to do with it, and they invested a lot of money in the research. So how commercialize it? And they had an idea because it's a psychotropic drug. So they knew at the same time the Cold War started off, and this new CIA, they needed a drug to extract information from a KGB agent. But to sell this important drug product, the LSD, you need a experiment or a sample. It's not ethically right. It's forbidden to do experiments on people. So what did they do? In 1951, they poisoned an entire French town with the LSD. They put it in the flour for the French baguette, the French bread. So, and Le Pont Saint-Esprit, Pont, it means the bridge, and Saint-Esprit, it means the Holy Spirit. It's a bridge from the Middle Ages, built by the Templars. It's 1.2 kilometers, almost a mile. Even trucks drive over it nowadays. It's still there. It's very strong. It's going over the Rhone River, a very big river going through almost entire France, or half of France. And these Templars, they never forget anything, just like the Swiss. They never forget anything, except their own crimes. They forget them very easily. So they still had, with this town, they still had some vengeance to do, because they were betrayed by the French people and sold out to the French king. And they got all rounded up in 1307. They invested a lot of time and energy to construct this bridge. So this was the town they picked out to do this experiment with the LSD, to sell this sample to the CIA. So the people, they took their baguette in the morning, put some butter on it, or some cheese, or some marmalade, or whatever, and they turned completely crazy. A boy, 11 years old, strangled his grandmother. People jumped off from the third floor. People saw snakes coming out of their stomach. Hundreds of people ended their days in psychiatrical wards. They never got out of it anymore. And then the CIA, Alan Dulles, at the head of it, and Eisenhower, also Swiss, on another key position. They said, this is a good product, we buy it. And this is what they do. They basically do when there is a high school shooting in America. They are only a pretext to take the guns away, the Second Amendment. And here, the terrorist attacks, well, I mean, there's a Latin saying, a proverb, is faciet cui prodest. That means, to whom profit the crime? Well, certainly not the Arabs. It doesn't profit them. You know, it only give them a lot of problems in society and a lot of wars and a lot of bloodshed. They're all geostrategical wars. The opium in Afghanistan, the oil in Iraq, and that's what it's all about. And with the terrorist attack, they have a pretext to continue their wars. So the American army, with psychiatrists, they found out, coming back to the MK Ultra, they found out when a American soldier, like during the Korean War or something else, or by the Nazis, by the Gestapo, got tortured, the soldier, he got completely crazy. A schizophrenia takes place, because the pain is too intense and you're all tied up. You want to run away with your body, but you can't because you're all tied up. Your hands, your torso, your legs. So you can only run in your head. And you go to a place in your head where there's no pain, a place where you've never been in your head, as we use about only 20% of our brain resources. So a schizophrenia takes place, an entirely new personality will be created. And this is what they do. They kidnap somebody, like here in Europe, they kidnap some Arab, a tiny criminal, you know, stealing handbags of ladies or something like that, or stealing cars or something like this. And they take him out of his cell in the middle of the night, then they tie him up and bring him to a laboratory with the doctors and all this, and they administer LSD. And then they start to torture him. So the schizophrenia, the new identity will take place. The guy, he gets so crazy. He goes to this part of his brain where there's no pain. And a new page, which is completely blank. You know, there's no, it's white. So they can fill it in the way they want. So they put some goggles with a video on the guy's head, and they show a bearded Muslim who empties his assault rifle, his AK-47, in the middle of Paris. When they're finished with this guy, or somebody from the Columbine High School, and they all had Prozac, they were all on Prozac and other antidepressants. Well, when they're finished with this guy, the only thing they can do is empty their assault rifle. And this is why there were very serious witnesses in Paris, in big English newspapers, who witnessed after the shooting. These guys were just standing there, like, mission accomplished. There's no more in the hard disk. Finished. End of story. The same thing, and then the cops came, you know, dirty cops, and they killed the truth, most of it all, because the man alive would have been worth far more than dead. The same thing happened in Nice. We all see the picture of the guy sitting in his truck, and he's just sitting there with 20 cops around him, and they just shot him to pieces. This guy didn't even know where he was. He didn't know what to do anymore. Just mission accomplished, nothing more in the hard disk. And they murdered the truth, most of all. And if you look at the Nice killings of about 100 people, you know, you can look it up in Google now. More than 50% of the victims are Arabic. They're Arabic, you know. They're not even Europeans.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, look it up. It's all a lie. Everything is a lie. And their base is Switzerland of it all, where it's all, you know, the Swiss, you know, Hitler said once, if I want, I can take Switzerland with the fire department of Berlin. You know, he was joking, yeah. My film, Auschwitz Made in Switzerland, it starts with a very rare picture of Mr. Hitler when he was in Zurich in 1923, where he was financed by a Swiss general called Ulrich Wille, who married into the high German aristocracy of von Bismarck. So this is why the Nazis, they never invaded Switzerland. But nobody wants it because it's the base of Pharaoh, it's the base of the Nazis, it's the base of the Templars. That's where they went to. You know, I'm here in Strasbourg, and in Strasbourg they got a school which is called l'ENA. All the French presidents, it's a president's school. They all go there. It's called l'École nationale de l'administration. They got 2 schools. Even international presidents, they attend this school. Maybe some American presidents, they went here as well. And guess what? This school here in Strasbourg, they got 2 of them, one in Paris and one in Strasbourg, which is the European capital together with Brussels. And guess what? It's in a former Templars commandery. And I went there, I filmed it, I put it on my YouTube channel. Maybe you saw it.
What's the title?
Lena, so ENA, Strasbourg Templar commandery. Something, if you punch these keywords in it pops out.
I'll look for it.
Yeah. Of course, immediately the security guys in uniforms, they came out, only because I was filming there. Well, you know this type of things, yeah. Because I talked very well. The night before, I talked with the chief security. He was a former cop. Because I talked about the Templars, he liked very much what I was saying. He thought he could learn something, yes. Which he apparently did, of course. So he invited me in. so because I did some good talking. If he would have known who I really was, they would have arrested me. So he let me in. And then because he was so proud, because I talked about the Templars, he drew his Android or, iPad or iPhone, whatever the name is, smartphone. And very, very proud as he was, he showed himself in a Templar's dress with a gladio with a Templar sword. And he said, "I'm a Templar. We still exist." So I profited from the situation. I asked him, "For you Templars, what does Switzerland mean? What does Switzerland represent?" Without hesitating, he said, "The refuge. That's where we went to, the hideout." But of course, I couldn't film that. But he told me that I had to be very careful, not to overdo it.
Sean, one of the recurring symbols is the octagon, and would you tell listeners why that shape is significant and how its geometry is found embedded in much of the Freemason and Knights Templar symbols?
Good question, Jeff. Thank you for reminding me. Excellent. Yeah, I went this year to I haven't uploaded. Yes, I uploaded it. I went to many Templars commanderies. Some of it was very dangerous. I was lucky to came out of it alive. I was in the Templars commandery and the Chapel of the Templars in Laon, which is a town in the north of France. In France, there are really thousands of Templars commanderies and chapels and Templars farms. There are thousands of them. They were the first multinationals. And this one, peculiar one, and normally they should all be octagonal, it really was octagonal. Why? Because if you draw a line around a Templar's cross, or around a Swiss cross, the same thing, you get an octagonal form. And so a Templar's commandery, it should be done in an octagonal form. And even in the Bible, in the Revelations of John, they talk about that the 7th beast is also the 8th beast, presenting the octagon, the 8th beast. And they talk about that the beast has, the whore of Babylon is sitting on it, and this beast is scarlet, which is the Vatican, many people think. And she, Isis, of course, the whore of Babylon, and Switzerland, the Templars called it, they gave the name of Switzerland, as they were speaking French, they called it Suisse. It's the French word for Switzerland, and Suisse, it means Sœur d'Isis, the sisters of Isis. And then the Swiss Germans, they call it Schwyz, Schwester de Isis, which became Switzerland from Switzerland, or many before in English language, many people called it the land of the Switzers. So this Isis, or the whore of Babylon, sitting on that beast, that means the beast is the Vatican, and that means the Vatican belongs to Switzerland. They have a Swiss police in the Vatican, they have a Swiss guard only. They are the rulers of the Vatican. Because the Templars, they are the military wing, and to consolidate their powers under peacetimes, they needed a political wing. So they founded the Freemasons. And they also needed a religious wing, which is the Vatican, also under Swiss control, as it is pictured even in the Bible, 2,000 years ago, in the Revelations of John. And they also have a financial wing, of course, the Swiss banks. And found it with the Templars treasure. And the Templars treasure, they came from the pyramids. And as they knew that their ancestors, they still had a lot of goodies over there. And they didn't share it with the French kings. He was pretty annoyed by it and arrested them all because they didn't share it, one of the reasons, and they wanted to have all the power. Yeah, so this is why it's Octagon, and you can see this in my film, Octagon, the Empire of Darkness, on my channel Chetsefrat. And most of the badges of police forces, army forces, they are octagonal. The cops in New York City, they got an octagonal cap. It's because they are Templars. They don't care about the people. They are like the slave drivers with an octagonal Templar's cap. The English bobbies, they also have on their bobby hats, they got an octagonal form. I was arrested in Auschwitz because they didn't want to let me in. I filmed it on my YouTube channel. And because I had my big backpack, 2 backpacks, with, I was there in the winter in Auschwitz. And they said, well, you can't come in with your backpack, so you must leave it in that little house there. I said, I'm not going to leave my stuff there. I need my tent. If I lose it, I'm dead. I hitchhiked all the way there. It took me a whole week through Czechoslovakia and Austria and south of Poland, in Oswiecim, as they call it, Auschwitz. So I didn't leave my stuff there. And I tried to get into Auschwitz, like skipping the fences. So I made one fence and a second fence. I was in. And I got arrested by the internal Auschwitz police who had an octagonal badge. So I know that the ones who killed all those poor people in there and murdered and tortured them, it's still the same ones earning money with it. The whole town of Auschwitz, they're living off it. The hotels, the restaurants, the everything, the whole town lives on it, and it's still the same ones. That's what I learned by seeing that octagon badge, which you can see on my YouTube channel. The Germans lost the war, but the Nazi Templars, they won it. They're still there, and they are behind the terrorist attacks, and we have to wake up. It's already too late, I think. We have to wake up and do something, because it's all a lie. And we, as they pointed out in the Georgia Guidestones, well, they're going to diminish humanity until 500 million only, and they're going to do it. Just as Hitler, he announced everything in his book, Mein Kampf. They announced everything in the Georgia Guidestones. We're in the state of Georgia. They're going to kill us all. Stand up before it's too late. And the information is the only weapon we have at this moment, because where are you going to aim at if you don't know the face, their name, where do they come from? And you can find it in my videos. And I want to do it. I did it in French in a video which is called Enfer Suisse Satanique. I put it all together in one 2-hour video, very densely, and I want to do that in English too, so you only have to watch a 2-hour video, but I don't have a place where I can work. So please, somebody stand up and contact me. And so I don't have a passport, so I can't make it to the U.S., but here in France, if you know somebody, or in Belgium or in Italy, or in Luxembourg, there's about some places where I can go to. I want to continue my work, and I do it for you. I do it for humanity, for our children. I also have 3 children. And I want to tell you how they got, this is very important too, how they got rid of the old world order. Well, the old world order, the King of France, he was very, very strong, and he had his men everywhere. The last king was Louis the 16th. So how to get rid of him? By the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th sons organizing in the Freemasons and the Templars. As he was too strong, and he had his eyes on the people everywhere through loyal aristocrats, they couldn't get him. He was the king, after all. He had an army at his disposal. So they used an intermediary. So they tortured the French people. They took all their food away. They got crazy. They were tortured by Swiss mercenaries, which is a historical fact, in La Bastille, the French prison in Paris. So the people finally stood up when they saw their children dying. Just the same thing as they did with the Germans before the Second World War, as they did with the Russian before, the Russian Revolution and the Red Terror. They always starve the people to death first, so they get crazy, so they can put all information into their head. So the people stood up against the king. He lost his head. He never understood why, because he thought being good to the people, though he could never go and see if the people were really doing well, but he was lied to. So until the very last moment when his head fell into the basket, and his wife Marie Antoinette from Austria as well, he never understood why. And this is why the New World Order took place in 1789 in France, and a couple of years in 1776, entirely organized by Lafayette and the French. The American New World Order, America was founded in 1776, organized by the French aristocracy, basically, even before their own New World Order a couple of years, 13 years later, 1789. So this is why the French, they took the slogan, Liberté, Fraternité, Égalité. That means freedom, liberty, equality, égalité, and fraternity, fraternité, which is not for us. There's no freedom for us. If there's a war, they push us in a war, you have no choice, or they shoot you. If they go for your identity card, you have no choice, or they shoot you. So liberty, it means we, the aristocracy, including the second, third, and fourth sons, this is the slogan of the New World Order, we, the aristocrats, we have all the liberty to be the king for a period of, or the president, for 4, 5, or 7 years. And fraternity, there are no more brother killings. We're all brothers. Fraternity, no more brother killings between the second, third, and the fourth sons and the firstborn son who got all the power. And equality, we're all equal. There's no more difference between the firstborn son, the second, third, and the fourth sons. In the Middle Ages, we had thousands of years of wars only because of this, but we didn't know this, only because one lord or the second and the third wanted to have the power, and we had to fight their wars. And the First and the Second World War, it was all about this. It was not about anything else. It was only an internal quarrel of our feudal masters from ancient Egypt. And this is why I went there 1 month ago. I went to Colmar, which is a little bit south of Strasbourg, where Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, the guy who made the Statue of Liberty for America, where he lived, and there's also a Statue of Liberty. So the next time I've got the occasion, I'll upload that for you. I filmed it.
Okay.
And so this is why they call it the Statue of Liberty, because of the French slogan, Liberté, Fraternité, Égalité. This is why. So all of them can be the president for another 4 years. This is what the Statue of Liberty means, and I can tell a lot more about it. Yes, Jeff.
First of all, thank you for the courageous research that you're doing, and again, it's not without consequences. This is very difficult work that you're doing. Could you give listeners, again, your contact information, your email?
Too bad it's over, Jeff. I can talk for another 2 hours. I've got some more important things to say.
Well, we would definitely want to have you back on to continue this. I'm happy to do that.
Yes, I'll give you my email again. Thank you, Jeff.
That's going to do it for In Other News. I'm Jeff Brady.
After last-minute negotiations involving the FBI and the CIA, President Trump last night blocked, for now, the release of hundreds of records from the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. But he did let thousands of others come out. Jan Crawford has been pouring through the files.
It will be only a matter of minutes before he arrives at the trademark.
The horror of that November day in Dallas still seems to defy understanding. President Kennedy killed.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
His accused assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald, shot and killed 2 days later. From the beginning, there were doubters Oswald had acted alone, and the new documents are unlikely to silence suspicions of a broader conspiracy. Larry Sabato is a JFK scholar.
Even if we had the full story, there's an army of conspiracy theorists that seems to grow by the year. They're never going to be satisfied.
Totaling thousands of pages, the documents offer a glimpse into the investigation. They show the FBI knew of a threat against the president's assassin. FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover wrote in a memo the night before Oswald was shot, a man called saying he was a member of a committee organized to kill him. Dallas police assured the FBI adequate protection would be given. However, this was not done. Hoover wrote he was concerned about conspiracy theories and wanted to have something issued so we can convince the public that Oswald is the real assassin. The FBI director was also aware Oswald had ties to Cuba and Russia. The documents show Oswald was on the FBI's radar a month before he shot the president. There had been numerous threats against President Kennedy. A 413-page memo details those, ranging from the Ku Klux Klan to the mentally ill. As for who other than Oswald could be responsible, the documents yield more frustration than explanation, like these questions to a former CIA director. Is there any information involved with the assassination of President Kennedy which in any way shows that Lee Harvey Oswald was in some way a CIA agent or... The document abruptly cuts off, leaving us to wonder the answer. Jan Crawford, CBS News, Washington.